Hey, good morning, everybody. Jessica Smith, RN coach here with you, and I am so freaking excited to introduce you to Heather. So Heather and I have connected over our own personal health journeys, and she has been such an inspiration, and I love her story. And I'm so grateful today because she agreed to come on and share her story with you. Now, a lot of stories for the health coaching journey start with people wanting to lose weight. And this is not Heather's story. Her story is much different. So Heather, welcome. I'm so excited for you to be here sharing your story today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you so much. So tell us about your lifestyle before you decided to commit to working with a health coach.
Um, well, like most women, I was very stressed out. I wasn't taking the time for myself. I was putting a lot of focus on my family and all of those stressors. My daughter had recently started middle school. So that was a huge thing that just kind of swooped in and took control of our lives because she really struggled with that. She had a hard time with it. She was developing a lot of anxiety around that. So as much as I wanted to work, I knew that I needed to change my health status. It was just put on the back burner. It just became literally like a mental impossibility because it was just not one of those things I could fit in my day at that point.
Mm-hmm. And you
So,
couldn't fit it in your day. I love that term that you used. It was not a mental possibility, and I could not fit it into my day. So,
mhm.
what was the cost of carrying around that belief?
um, I guess it caused a lot of anxiety in me, and it caused a lot of self-doubt. It made me, because see, I know how to be healthy. I've been focusing on my health and wellness for a long time. And I know what it takes to do what needs to be done to get there.
Mhm.
But so it made me feel a little bit shameful because I wasn't, even though I knew how to walk the walk, I wasn't doing it myself. I wasn't taking the footsteps that needed to be done. I felt like I had, put myself in such a great place in life because had overcome a lot of my own personal battles that I felt like I'd taken like 10 steps backwards mentally. And it almost put me in that stressful part of my life, almost had, started some of these old recurring triggers in my brain that I was having. And that personally scared the crap out of me too. So I was like, well, something has to be done here because I can't, I've come too far to backslide now.
Mm-hmm. I love that saying, like, I haven't come this far to only come this far.
Hmm. Exactly.
And it sounds
Yeah.
like you had come that far and were starting to maybe take some steps back and realize that
Yes.
that's not what you wanted for yourself.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us what life looked like for you. I mean, you struggled with some anxiety and some mental things. And then what else was going on? Like, how did that cause you to show up as a wife, as a mom, as a human being, as a friend?
You mean when I was in that state of anxiety? I
Yeah.
wasn't really showing up. I was spinning my wheels. I was just basically going through the day-to-day motions and getting through, hoping that like you wouldn't, it was like a Jenga game, hoping you wouldn't pull the one piece out and then everything would just come falling down. Um, I wasn't connecting with my kids the way that I wanted to. I wasn't being the friend that I needed to be. I wasn't, you know, being the wife that, I should have been to my husband. And it was just, it's a domino effect. It's crazy how much your health, your physical health and your mental health, when it's not in balance, it's just everything kind of tends to get out of balance. And it's insidious. It's not like you wake up one day and it's not the way you want it to be. It's just kind of a habit. It builds on itself, and then before you know it, you're faced with a situation. You're like, oh crap, how did I get there? And it's the same thing. Like, you know, I come from a history of addiction myself. I am in April 7th to be exact. I'll be celebrating 5 years of my sobriety from alcohol.
Oh my gosh.
So
Congratulations. I just want to stop right there for a second and say congratulations. That is
thank you.
huge. And be so proud of that. I just want to celebrate that
I
for a
am.
second.
Oh, I'm proud, sister, because I know I come from a long line of alcoholics, and I am the change agent in my family.
That's
So,
beautiful.
yeah. So, like I said, it was just something that, I don't know, I kind of got off topic with that, but it was just trying to become the person that I knew I could have been or should be for everybody. And I know, and that's kind of how I felt, becoming focused on my own health and wellness. And then here it is for me to see that I've taken all these, steps back. And it was just like, and I think that the sticking point for me, I had a trigger in my head one night. My daughter had an anxiety attack and a panic attack. And I'd never seen that side from her. But it's just weird how kids internalize things and then they kind of just come out, and the stressors of school and socialization and all that puts on them. And I remember sitting in my kitchen and thinking, damn, I could go for a drink right now. And that scared the crap out of me. And I was like, where did that come from? Because I have no desire to drink. I know where I was. I know where I'm going. I'm very strong in that. But it's just weird how our triggers from our past can pop up at any minute. No matter how strong we feel or think we are, they're always going to be there. So I think that that's what kind of really was the straw that broke the camel backs for me, because that thought was a wake-up call for me that I needed to get some accountability and to get some help, like I did early on in my journey in my sobriety.
Gotcha. So you had reached a place where you had been free from alcohol, feeling great, and then life happened and you put yourself on the back burner, and those old triggers of, damn, I could use a drink right now, started coming back to get you.
Yep.
Interesting. Yep. So one thing that you said that I'm curious about is, I knew how to walk the walk, but I wasn't taking the steps that I needed to take. So what does walking the walk look like for you specifically?
Eating healthy, honoring my body, honoring my mind, first and foremost, my emotional health. I had worked really hard through my sobriety to create that state for me, because part of my addiction when I became addicted to alcohol was I wasn't honoring that. I was being everything to everybody except for myself. And I was dealing with a lot of old emotional issues, things that I hadn't addressed from childhood, just things that we go through, and not feeling quite enough. And being a child of an alcoholic myself, we have our own things that we mentally put ourselves through. So, I worked really, really hard to put myself first and foremost, and creating the self-love that I knew that I needed to get through my sobriety. And I even had to teach my family how to do the same, how to let me honor myself. Because they didn't really understand it. We go through that mom guilt of, we just need to be there and always be on for our family. And if we love ourselves and show ourselves the kindness and compassion, we're being selfish. So it took me a while to figure out that it's not selfish, it's self-love. So it was just kind of, that's who I knew I was, and that's who I am. But it was just, I kind of, like you said, life happened. Things happened, old stressors started showing up, and I wasn't honoring myself the way that I needed to be to keep myself healthy, physically and emotionally.
Yeah, I can identify with that. I mean, I don't struggle with alcoholism, but I certainly struggle with emotional eating. And emotional eating is maybe more socially acceptable, but it's just as damaging. It's just as damaging because we're suppressing our emotions and our ability to care for ourselves with, basically substances, sugar, right?
Right. Well, that's what it is. It's just the numbing. It doesn't matter what, I just say everybody has their numbing agent of choice.
Oh, yeah.
Mine initially was alcohol. And then, once I became, sober, this most recent kind of, back step was I did turn to sugar. I went down that path, and I was eating all this stuff that I, hadn't been eating for a while, and my body just started craving it more and more, because we have the chemical receptors in our brain that wants that, and it wants you to self-soothe yourself in any means possible.
Right.
And sugar is a big one. Sugar is a big one. And when you teach yourself, it's nothing inherently wrong with us. It's just the way our brains are wired. So we're teaching ourselves to depend on something else for our happiness. And then that just becomes a habit.
Yes. Interesting that that came up. I was having a conversation with this beautiful girl that I met at the gym a little while back, and she's going through a really difficult breakup. And she was like, I just want answers. I want respect. I need to know. And the thing that I said to her was, it's all inside. You have all of the answers that you need. And if you're not feeling respected, my question for you is, how are you not respecting yourself? Because the mirror, the world around us is a mirror of what's happening inside. And so often, when I'm not feeling loved or respected or cared for, I immediately take a look in the mirror and ask, like, how am I not respecting myself? How am I not caring for myself? And it's amazing how I always, always have the answer.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
110%. I believe that. And that's the crazy thing is that, we just have to be aware and wake up to that. We just live our lives on automatic pilot and we don't see it. And then it just takes, sometimes for some people it takes a rock bottom to see it. Some of us hopefully won't let us get to that point and can see it a lot sooner. It's just a matter of depends on the person.
Absolutely. So another question that I have for you is, you mentioned that you weren't honoring yourself emotionally. What does emotionally honoring yourself look like? Because we can think of we honor our body, and by doing that, we get enough sleep and we manage our stress and we fuel our bodies and we drink enough water. We do those things that are biologically our body needs to function. That's how we honor our physical body. But how do you honor your emotional?
Well, I think that looks different for everybody, but for me, I'd gotten into a real good system of personal development. I was reading a lot. I read a lot of different books. I don't always finish them. I'm a habitual person that I start all these fabulous books and then I glean what I need and then I let go of them, or I read articles. Or another big thing for me, because time is an issue for me, I listen to podcasts, or just taking the time to just give myself 10 minutes. For me, oddly enough, exercise is actually my self of honoring my mental state. Because even though it does serve you physically, for me, that's kind of my my therapy, I like to say, especially because that's how when early in my sobriety, my fitness and nutrition was a huge catalyst in my sobriety, because I changed my habit from drinking to then taking care of my body by exercising and feeding it the proper food. So that just became a way of who I was. But then towards the end, it worked against me, because what happened was I then got into the vicious cycle of trying to out exercise my nutrition, because my nutrition had really kind of went into the tank. So then I stopped really getting that good feeling that I was getting from my exercise, because I like to weight train. I weight train. I have a home gym. So I wasn't getting that good feeling and the good feedback I was getting. It was more of a punishment, and it became a punishment actually. So that one thing I kind of really depended on, and I knew if I hit the gym, I would feel better, wasn't really doing it for me anymore.
Gotcha. Because instead of feeling better, you're now punishing yourself for something that you ate earlier in the day.
Right. Yep.
Gotcha.
I gotta make up for that ice cream I ate, or I gotta make up for that piece of cake, or, and that became a cycle within itself. Gotcha. And I had worked really hard to kind of get over the nutrition part of it, because I did keto for a while, 8 or 9 months. And towards the end, I really realized what a mistake that was. It really messed with my body hormonally and emotionally, because it kind of set a path of having a really bad emotional relationship with food. So I had worked a good 2 years to kind of repair that relationship. And then, and I'd gained weight from it and everything too, from rebounding from keto. But it was just, there's a lot of different things going on, and a lot of lessons learned. And I knew what I needed to do, but it just wasn't that stage in my life. I just couldn't pull myself out of it. It was really difficult.
Yeah. So I know that you mentioned, I had a few triggers. I'm assuming that I'm not getting that feel good feeling from the gym anymore, and I'm punishing myself, and I'm thinking dang, I could use a drink right now. Are those the things that prompted you to reach out for help?
That was the biggest thing, is I knew that I needed something. I
Mm-hmm.
needed to kind of catch it before it spiraled down any further. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
And is this the part in your journey where you decided to start working with a health coach?
Yes, I did. I reached out. I found a woman who had done a podcast, um, because I was kind of looking for a business, like a little bit of a health and wellness business myself. And then I heard a
Mm-hmm.
podcast a woman had done, um, and it really intrigued me. So I had reached out to her, and she spoke to me about the business end of it. And then she also said, well, because she was getting amazing results for her clients.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something I had struggled with, because I had a couple clients in the past, but it wasn't anything that I just felt like they weren't getting the results that they should have had. So she said, well, why don't you try the system yourself? Let me coach you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put you on program and see. And the truth be told, like I said, I had struggled with the keto. I had gained about 10 pounds of fat that I had lost because I kept yo-yoing back and forth between keto. And so I was like, well, that's fine. I said, I would want to try it anyways for myself, because I would want to try something before I actually, coach somebody or offer it to somebody else. So, anyways, I went on plan, and I was like, oh, I just need to lose 5 pounds. And we always say, we just need to lose this minimal amount of weight. And then
Mm-hmm.
I went on plan, and I lost actually 11 pounds in 5 weeks, and like 13 and a quarter overall inches. And I was shocked, because Jessica, was the 10 pounds I had been struggling to lose for 2 years since I stopped yo-yoing back and forth between keto. And it came off effortlessly, literally, and it really shocked me. And that's when I knew that this was something that is going to help a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But, the support of my coach was insurmountable, because, when we're making any kind of a change, we always kind of think we can do it on our own.
Yeah.
But the reality is you really need that support. And then thinking back, it's interesting, because I think back, and everything I've done that's been important in my life, I've always had some form of a coach, even if they haven't really been somebody I paid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a nurse, I'm a registered nurse. So, in nursing school, we have instructors who are essentially our coaches.
Yeah.
Okay. When I bought a house, we have loan officers and people at the bank. They coach us on how to do this process.
Mm-hmm.
In my sobriety, I had a therapist. I chose not to go to AA. I chose a different route. So I went and I sought help from my therapist. She was my coach.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always for me, it was always these big fundamental changes or achievements that I had strove for in my life. And I always had somebody supporting me. And this is no different. Your health is no different. You need that person in your corner, and having her to support me was huge, and checking in on me and showing up for me and talking me off the ledge when I wanted to go and grab that piece of cake from the birthday party we had on the Sunday, and eating the cake, so that was huge for me. And that was a big thing for me, because I am not one to lean into help very easily. I'm very stubborn in that way. And that comes from, I think, being a child of an alcoholic as well, because we learn to be our own caretaker, and we become kind of thickened in that way, or hardened, not hardened, but independent, I guess. So it's hard. It was very difficult initially for me, but in the end, it was priceless to have her.
That is amazing. So it sounds like you kind of knew that you needed help, and you were kind of putting it out there, putting it out to the universe. Like, I know I'm backsliding, and I don't want to backslide, and I need some help. And it sounds like the universe really set you up on that one.
It took care of me, because even though I didn't really realize I needed the help, or even would have searched for the help because of my personality, it showed up for me anyways.
Yeah.
Yep.
The universe knew. It was like, hey, chick.
Yeah. There you go. Here it is. Take it.
I hear your soul. Let me help you out.
Take it. It's here for the taking. Yep.
Yeah, that is awesome. So I love this question, because it always it kind of helps put your health journey in perspective. Had you said no to a health coach, like, I don't think I want the help. I just, I think I'm going to stick with my old go-to of doing it on my own. What would it have cost you in terms of your physical and your mental well-being to say no to that opportunity?
It would have cost me my health, because there's no doubt I was on that downward slope. Not saying, I don't mean necessarily that I would have started drinking again, because for me, that wasn't an option. It wasn't the alcohol. It was more my health, because I had been slowly, when the process of the stress and everything from my daughter starting middle school started, the scale was creeping up. I was eating more and more sugar. I was eating more and more unhealthy processed foods, and I was feeling more and more unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was physically feeling more and more unhealthy, it was hitting me, in my mental state. So honestly, like, wouldn't even want to. It would have cost me a lot. It probably would have cost me everything that I had worked almost, at that point, 4.5, almost 5 years, coming up on 5 years to build, because I was on, that kind of downward spiral.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had talked before we started our recording, we had talked about the fact that, once you sort of start down that path of being unhealthy, it's kind of a domino effect, right? Mm-hmm. Your physical body starts to affect your mental state, starts to affect your emotions, starts to affect your stress level. And I truly believe that the reverse is also true. Once you take that one step towards being healthier, you make that commitment, you take that step, it's also a domino effect back the other direction. Would you agree with that?
100%. There's no doubt that once you change what you're feeding your body, everything else follows. It's just that, it's interesting. So I was talking to somebody the other day about this, and like, I noticed a huge difference in my body based on what I'm feeding it, and based on how I'm treating it. I had a big, if I eat a big dose of sugar, the next day I'm like dark. The clouds are dark. My mood is horrible. I'm very agitated. I almost feel sore, like bruised. It really affects my body personally. But because I think that's, my body knows what good feels like as well, what health is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a huge disparity for me, in that sense.
Right. We talk about in our coaching program about how the food we feed ourselves really affects us, and how the current state of our society, everybody's busy, busy, busy. And there are more convenience foods than ever. And those convenience foods are designed to be addictive. They're designed to be high in calories. So you get that like sugar high. And they're also very, very poor in nutrient density. And I think that our society in general just doesn't realize how lacking our current convenience foods are for actually nourishing our bodies. And I look around at the general population and I see what you have expressed, those people that are just like, a little bit overweight, a little bit sluggish, a little bit tired most days, their mood's a little dark, and they just don't quite make that connection of, I don't like the way that I feel, but I'm not sick, like my blood pressure is okay, my labs are okay, my weight is okay. And they just really don't make that connection. And they've gotten so used to that just kind of status quo of like, I'm not sick, but I'm not great, that they think it's normal.
Right.
Yeah. And so I love that you really bring to light how you really feel. And for most people, I think that it's really important for them to realize that our bodies are not meant to feel that way all the time. And if we're being really, really honest, at a biological level, our body never wants cake. Our body never wants McDonald's. Our body never wants fried food. It's not about what the body actually wants or requires to function optimally. Those kind of foods are about convenience, and they're about emotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. It's, and it's just, people, like you said, people don't realize it because I don't think that they forgot what it felt to feel good. Like when you're a child, you know, and you just feel good and you go with the flow and life is great and everything's unicorns and rainbows, you know, and then life sets in and then you have kids and then you're just busy and you're running everybody everywhere and you're not taking care of yourself. And like I said, it just kind of slowly creeps up and then that becomes your way of life. And then you don't know any other way of life. And it's the same with a habit, with my drinking habit. I didn't start day one as an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. I started having a couple drinks and then I started using it to relax. And then I started using it to numb my feelings. And then I started using it to have fun and to loosen up and to go out with my friends and have a good time. And then before I knew it, I had to have it. It was a dependency, you know? And it took a lot of work to get out of that, obviously, but it's the same thing with our food and what we feed our bodies. It hooks you in, and then, you know, you get into this mental state of not feeling well, and then you think that's your norm. Yeah. And it's not. There's a totally different way to live and way to be.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
A healthier, happier way.
And it's simple. So you also mentioned in the beginning that, you know, you were breaking your addiction and you didn't want anything complicated. And right. So when we talk about like working with a health coach and changing your diet and working on your emotions, like superficially that can seem very complicated and very overwhelming. So can you speak a little bit to the process of how easy it actually is to make these changes for yourself?
I mean, all you have to do is follow the plan. If you follow the plan, it's so simple because the plan's laid out for you. You know, everything's given to you for the most part. You know, you just have to, and it removes all the barriers and the tools are there. You just have to kind of follow through and do it. So as far as simplicity, it was, like I said, exactly what I needed at the time. I didn't have the time, nor did I want to commit to counting calories every day, counting every morsel of food, counting all my macros, scanning everything that went in my mouth, worrying about all the meal prep. I did not have time for that. There's no way. Yeah. So this plan was just, you know, with all the components, was the perfect thing that I needed, you know, obviously at that time in my life. It was like you said, it was like, somebody knew. So
yeah.
Simplicity was huge.
Absolutely. When we say the plan, just for those of you who don't really know what the plan is, with health coaching, we have 4 components. We have your health coach who helps you really dig into that mental, emotional piece that you've got going on. We've got a community, because when you're plugged into people who are making the same changes that you're making, who are committed to actually feeling good every day instead of living in that status quo fog, you're going to be more likely to stay motivated. We also have education, so that through the coaching program, you become the expert in your own health, because every body is unique. And we can teach you what it means to really fuel your body as far as a biological being. But it's like Heather said, those emotional components are something that are unique to everybody. So really through this process, we want to educate you not only how to fuel your body as it requires biologically, but also how to fuel your mind and your emotions. And then the 4th component, like she said, is just simplicity. Because if we asked you to count your calories and your micros and your macros and scan everything that you put in your mouth, like as busy as we all are, that's why we're all eating low, you know, high calorie, low nutrient density food, is because it's convenient and we're freaking busy. So I can't ask you to not be busy. Like that's never going to happen. That's totally unrealistic because we are all busy, right? Yes. So that's just a little quick overview for you, those of you who don't quite know what we mean when we say the program.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last question for you is, for anybody who's out there and wanting to make changes for their health, what advice would you give them?
I say the biggest thing is just set your intention to do it and just start, and then reach out to somebody. We have a lot, there's health coaches out there that they have a heart to help, and that's what we're here to do. And don't be afraid to reach out, because that's what, like I was afraid, even knowing what I know, I was afraid. And
Mhm.
it's hard sometimes to ask for that help. And it's hard, you have to get over the fear
Mhm.
of failing too at some point, because,
Yes.
I know a lot of people like myself have tried pretty much every method known to man to lose weight, to get healthy,
Mhm.
and have failed because they didn't have this a system designed to set them up for success, for sustainability, and for lifelong transformation.
Mhm.
Because anybody can go on a diet, anybody could lose weight, anybody could take a pill. um, that's easy. That's easy. But working on creating the lifestyle that you need and you have to sustain it,
Mhm.
that's also easy if you have the right tools. But
Yes.
you just have to have the right tools to do it. And so that was the biggest thing, is just not being afraid to fail, because are you won't fail with this.
Mm-mm.
You won't. I've seen it time and time again.
Mhm.
I'm living proof.
Yeah.
you know
Me
I wish I would
too.
have found it, like, years and years ago, when I needed that sense of simplicity in my life. But we can't go back and change the past, but I can change the future. We can change the
Yes.
future. We can be the change agents in the world to
Mhm.
to help other people who are struggling.
Yeah. Absolutely. That is beautiful advice. And, I tell my clients the same thing. Like, the only way that you can fail is if you choose to stop participating.
Hmm.
That's it. It is
Yep.
really that simple. Otherwise, I've got your back. The community has your back. You have a simple plan that not only is helping you change the way you fuel yourself, but it makes it simple to do so. And we're teaching you every single step of the way in a
Mhm.
way that allows you to actually take in that education and apply it to your own life. Because the other thing I see with a lot of these programs is it's like trying to drink through a fire hose. It's so much at one time that it's like you go at it for a little while because you're excited and you think you're going to get results, and then 2-3 weeks in, you're freaking exhausted and you're like, I can't do this.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is a life event happens. Kids get sick. You know, you have to go on a vacation. You have to, there's a gazillion things that are going to happen in life.
Yeah.
Um, and the reality is that, the 2 week is pretty much, I call it the witching moment, where, the bright and shininess, kind of comes off the diamond, so to speak. And it just sets you up for, again, it's like a repeating of a cycle of, then you think there's something wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with you or I or anybody.
Yeah.
Is you just have to have the right system and the right support to help your, succeed.
Absolutely. Well, this interview has been so full of nuggets. Like, I don't even know what to highlight because it's just such a great interview. And I really, really
Thank you.
appreciate you being honest about your journey and your story. It's just so incredible. And I know that somebody out there is going to be so inspired by what you've shared today. So thank you a million times over for being here with me. And I hope that you have a wonderful day, Heather.
Thanks for having me, Jessica.
You betcha.
Talk to you later.